welcome back. I'm your host, Lex, and today I'm going to be discussing A Darker Shade of Magic. This book was on my to-read list on Goodreads for, I want to say about a year. I completely forgot about it, and recently I came across it again, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and give that book a chance because it was on like a buy one get one half off table at Barnes & Noble, and I finished this book in 1 week. I am the slowest reader that I personally know, and I finished it in 1 week, which is saying something. That just shows how amazing this book was. So just as like a little summary of the book, basically. So this book takes place in London, but in a world where there are multiple Londons, because there are parallel worlds. So the main character, Kel, is one of the last of his kind, which is Antari, which are blood magicians, and he is also one of the only 2 people who can travel between worlds. These worlds include Red London, White London, Grey London, and Black London. In order, it's Grey London, Red London, White London, Black London. Grey London has no magic. We have forgotten all about magic, so Grey London is most likely our world. And then Red London is thriving with magic because they live in harmony with magic. White London is more, they control magic and they're very bloodthirsty and power hungry. And Black London is closed off. Black London is no more because it was overtaken by magic. They let the magic control them to the point that it overtook them. They had to block off the doors to Black London, and in doing so, they ended up blocking off the doors to all Londons, to where only Kel and Holland, who are the only 2 Antari, can pass through the doors. I picked up this book originally because I heard it was gay. I had been looking at articles about sci-fi fantasy gay novels, and this one was on the list. It's not really gay, so it was a little disappointing, but the book makes up for it in plot and structure, and just everything this book is makes up for it not being gay. But the Prince, Rai, he's kind of like a minor character in this book. I don't know if he becomes a bigger character later on in the series, which I would assume so, because he kind of became a bigger character towards the end of the book. He's bisexual, and it's mentioned in passing. It's like, oh, he sleeps around with both men and women. It's not a big deal in this book. It's just kind of it's just a given. So that's cool because it makes it not really a focus. It's just the norm, which is great. In A Darker Shade of Magic, there's a lot of stress. This book is such the page turner. I was practically never bored when reading it. It was like a movie playing in my head. The execution of the plot and the characters and everything was so good. It literally low-key scared me. I mean, it's not hard to scare me. I get scared really easily. I get scared from Edward Scissorhands and Labyrinth with David Bowie, but this book was low-key scary. Kind of like a creep factor. And the ending was pretty satisfying. I mean, you could tell it's not the end. You kind of have a sense that there's more to the story. But it could be a standalone novel if you just want a one and done type of book. But I don't think it is a series, so I don't think that you could read this book and be like, okay, I'm done, because it was just that good. I mean, I have heard other reviews of it being okay or not the best, whereas I'm oh my god, this book is amazing. I gave it 5 stars, which I don't usually give to books. So really, it's just all about taste. It's all about, your own sense of what you like and don't like. Everyone perceives differently, so it's hard to say whether or not you will like this book, but I absolutely loved it. It was amazing, phenomenal. I could barely put it down. The only downside is that, the reason why I say that you get a sense that it's not over, that the story isn't over, is because during the ending scenes where they were closing up and getting rid of the villain, it seemed to go by pretty fast. So there's 4 villains, I would say. 3 minor ones and then 1 major one that goes throughout the entire book. And so you get rid of the 3 minor ones, like, throughout, like, a big sequence. But then the one main one, it's kind of, like, over like that. So it kind of gave me the sense, like, that was a little too easy. I don't think that's how it goes. Like, I don't think that's the end of it. So if that was supposed to be the end of it, then that's kind of disappointing. But other than that, the rest of it is amazing. Maybe I just, like, read it quickly, and so it seemed to go by quickly. I don't know. But it did have a very good closing chapter where it seemed like everyone was, you know, like, that could be the end. It could be the end. It's not, but it could be. With any good book, I always hope that it gets turned into a movie, even though most movies suck when they're turned from a book. But I still always hope that, like, the really good book that I read would be turned into a movie, and possibly a really good movie. And I did some research, and this book is actually in the process. It's not, like, 100% certain, but it is in the process of being turned into a movie. The screenwriter for the John Wick movies is working on this, and he was announced, I think, either in 2019 or 2020. I'm not sure. I just know it's pretty recent. So if this does end up progressing and being made into a movie, it probably won't be a movie until, like, 2, 3, maybe 4 more years. Maybe even longer. I don't know. But V.E. Schwab is an amazing author. I really want to read her other novel, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and of course the rest of the series. She just writes so well, and I was practically gripping my seat with every chapter. It was just so good. So I highly recommend this book to anyone who has it on their shelf and they're like, should I read it, should I not? I don't know. Honestly, the synopsis doesn't really give it much credit. It doesn't really make it seem very interesting, but when you read it, or at least when I read it, I was like, why didn't I read this sooner? Like, this is amazing. And now I'm going to be moving into the spoiler review book talk. So if you don't want to be spoiled, do not continue. Okay, so one thing I really want to talk about is the Dane twins. Like, at first I was like, okay, whatever, but they ended up being actually pretty terrifying in the end. Like, super powerful, super scary, and they were royalty in White London. Like, no wonder no one tried to overthrow them. They were so scary. And then Holland, I mean, at first I was like, all right, whatever, like, he's chill. He didn't really seem that bad. But then at the end, I was, like, terrified of him. I was like, what the fuck? This book was low-key so scary. Like, the execution of the Black London stone, and how the shadows, like, when Kel used it on that one guy in the alley, and then this shadow absorbed in him, I could picture that, and, like, just imagining if that were to happen in real life, that would be terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. The fact that the Vitari was, like, just roaming around Grey London and Red London, just doing its thing, practically taking over Red London, was terrifying. That's one thing I didn't actually like, though, is the fact that once Kel defeated the magic that was, like, attached to him, then it, like, everything, all the Vitari people, possessed people, just dropped like that. I feel like that was too easy. I feel like that was, like, a subplot that wasn't necessary. I mean, it did add for, like, creep factor and scare factor, but it just, like, what was the point of that? Like, I understand that some people were, like, killed from that, and it was called, like, the Black Plague and stuff, and I hope it does have, like, a bigger impact in the next book, but, like, at the end, when everything was solved, I was kind of like, that could have been so much more, you know, like, that could have had so much more consequences. In a movie setting, like, if it was an actual movie, then I can see, like, that would add stress, and it did add stress when I was reading it, but it just seemed kind of unnecessary. I don't know, maybe that was just me. I feel like Kel and Lila's relationship is a slow burn, but I'm not sure because I haven't read, like, the other books, but I love their slight flirtations and the only 2 times that they've kissed, because it doesn't feel forced. It feels very natural, very just like friendly. You can, like, I can see it either developing more as a friendship or as a relationship. It doesn't feel forced. It just feels natural. And a lot of books, sometimes they feel forced, like, sorry. Anyways, Lila for sure is my favorite character. I absolutely love her. And it is a shame that she is not gay. I mean, you have a female pirate who loves to wear more masculine clothes and she's not gay? I'm sorry, what? Where does this make sense? Where? I don't get it. But I guess it's fine because, I mean, she and Kel kind of have like a thing and it's kind of cute, so. The Black London magic is terrifying. The fact that it was taking over Kel, like, let me just tell you some theories real quick because we don't know Kel's past. What is it? Like, it was noted in the book that it's mysterious, that he doesn't even know his past because he was branded with magic to not remember it, which is illegal. But also, what is Lila's past? What happened to her eye? Like, here are my theories. Okay, so number one, Kel is from Black London. And that's why the magic so easily overtook him. Whereas Lila, like, she could control it better. Yeah, she was drawn to it, but she could control it better than Kel could, really. At least that's what it seemed. So I would think that Kel is probably from Black London. Possibly. I think Lila is Antari. I mean, that's pretty easy to figure out because she's missing an eye. She doesn't know what happened to it. And if someone had a black eye, people would get freaked out. And someone would probably take that eye out. And if she's missing an eye, she has a glass eye, it's probably because she was Antari. And that's why she can travel through Londons with Kel. Which, I had that theory way back in the beginning because they were hoping that the rock, magic rock, would help her pass through the portals. And I was just like, first of all, there's no puff of smoke. You know, whenever they would pass through and she would call on the rock to help her pass through, there was no smoke. Usually if you call on the rock, then there's smoke. Something happens after smoke appears. So I thought from the very beginning, she's going to be able to go through the Londons because she's probably Antari or magic from somewhere. And if only Antari can pass through the portals, then she has to be Antari. And it hits random people. And now that Holland is dead, there's one Antari down, so now we still have two Antari, Kel and Lila. Possibly. Hopefully. But what if Kel is a prince? Like a real prince? Like, what if he's actually a prince from Black London and he just doesn't remember because they took Kel from Black London because he's Antari and they couldn't have any Antari in Black London opening up the doors again? I don't know. I'll just have to finish the series to find out. I also want to know what Lila gets up to when she's like out sailing around Red London when she's not from there. And does anyone ever find out that she's from Grey London? Like, these are things that I need to know. I also, what it entails now that Rye and Kel are bound, like, by their lives. Like, what does that mean? Like, can they feel everything? Because I know that Rye gets a boyfriend in the next book. And that would be weird. Or can they only feel pain? And if they can only feel pain, then does that mean that Rye could feel Kel's pain as he was in a fight with Holland and almost dead himself? I absolutely love this book. Did you love this book too? Let me know in the comments down below if you loved this book, if you hated it, if you had mixed feelings about it. Did it creep you out as much as it creeped me out? What are your theories if you finished the book but you haven't read the rest of the series? Do you have any theories about Kel's past, Lila's eye, what might be to come in the next books? So yeah, I guess that's all for me to talk about. Leave a comment down below sharing your thoughts about the book. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to me. And I will see you guys next time. Bye! Hey guys, special guest star Rose K reads. You're so cute. Oh, thank you. Good luck with your video, babe. Thanks,